Hey folks, this is Mark Maron and you're listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. All right, do it.
This is Daddy Show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 12 of the podcast. And for those of you out there who've been following me since day one, I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, where have you been? I know it's been a big issue for you. I know it's been something that's been grieving you for a long time. You've probably sent out search parties to attempt to find me. But do not fret, dear fans. I am here, and I continue to talk nonsense. So, yeah, sometimes I got to be a little silly about it. Yeah, sorry about this, guys. It's been a while, but yours truly has been sick. The flu has run rampant in the house of Clark for about a month or so now, and it's been pretty heinous. But I am back on my feet, and we're trying to get things rolling again here. If you don't know anything about me, a very quick rundown, if you will. I am a feature columnist for BleacherReport.com. I also contribute to the great Camel Clutch blog, and also for WhatCulture.com. All things WWE. All day, all the time. That's it, folks. That's who I am in a nutshell. That's what I do. And what you're listening to is sort of the audio form of the writing. This is the stuff that interests me as a fan, things that I like to talk about. The format of the show is very simple. Every time I'm with you, we pick a different main event topic. We don't necessarily do a rundown of Raw or rundown of SmackDown or a review of the pay-per-view of WWE Network even. We just pick a topic and run with it. That's what we're doing here, folks. So thanks for coming on board. I extend to you a laurel and a hearty handshake as always. Thanks for your support, and let's have some fun here, okay? Let's do this. This time, the main event is the Ballad of Roman Reigns. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't it a little too early to be singing the Ballad of Roman Reigns? I mean, it's like the guy's history, like he's riding off into the sunset. Oh, tisk tisk, it's not that. I just kind of thought the title was catchy. And plus, there's been some fairy tale stuff happening with Roman a lot lately. We're going to get into that shortly. I know you don't want to, but we're going to have to. Roman Reigns, let's talk about him, folks. The big Samoan, the former strongman for the Shield, the guy that so many fans out there, including yours truly, if I'm being honest, believe is going to be the next big thing in WWE, that he's going to be the next face of the company. It's a little bit harder for me to say that if I'm being honest, okay? Because the past couple of months have not fared too well for Roman. I think everyone was of the opinion before his injury in 2014 that Roman Reigns was going to be heading to the top, ascending to the very top of the mountain in WWE, that he was going to take John Cena's spot eventually, that he was the heir apparent to Superman himself, that Roman was going to be, yes, indeed, the next top guy. He goes out with injury, and some very odd things begin to happen while he's gone. Number one, his former comrade in the Shield, Dean Ambrose, just so happens to blow up. He gets more popular than I think any of us likely thought he was going to, at least right now. Next thing you know, everyone and their mother is talking about Dean Ambrose as the next possible top guy. So Roman's out. He's not getting talked about that much. Dean's blowing up. He and Seth are beginning to have their war. Bray's coming up a little bit more. Roman comes back, and suddenly it becomes, what have you done for me lately? The crowd is not as in tune with Roman as they were once upon a time. And It's kind of an odd thing. I don't know if I've seen this sort of fan turnaround on a guy this quick. I mean, Roman's not even got his foot in the main event ring just yet. Barely really even dipped a toe in, but already the fans are beginning to turn on him. And if you have not heard it, you're going to hear it. Now, just like with any other guy that's in that locker room, depending on what town they go to, the reaction is either very favorable or it's kind of weak depending on where they are. But the reactions for Roman are beginning to shine through, and they're not all very positive. A great example of that is the most recent edition, at least for me, of Monday Night Raw, and that's the January 12th edition, in which Roman Reigns came out and told a fairy tale story to the Big Show. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. If It's bad, man. It was bad. It was rough. I had sort of high hopes for it as it began, but the longer Roman talked, the worse it got. You didn't hear crickets. The crickets were actually, killing themselves with mass suicide. It was terrible. Here's the thing: the words gotten out online, and keep in mind this is, straight from the dirt sheets, so take from it what you want. But supposedly the word on the street is that Vince McMahon is writing Roman's promos. He's telling him what to say. Now, if that's true, I think we can all agree, as we sort of all knew ahead of time, that Vince, with all due respect, is basically out of touch now with what the casual fan wants and even with what the hardcore fan wants. I don't think that there's a lot of connection between Vince and the audience of 2015. I just don't know if I see it, okay? Number two, if you believe anything you read on a dirt sheet, you need help, okay? So, and yes, I write for what I consider to be some esteemed sites. I'm proud to contribute to the wrestling sites I contribute to. Having said that, apart from what we do, there's a lot of garbage out there. And it just depends on who you want to believe. Is it true that Vince is writing Roman's promos? It could be entirely possible. Sure, I'll bite. Do I believe a hook, line, and sinker? Am I falling for it? Not necessarily, no. If it turns out to be the case, fine. I'll be the first guy to tell you, okay, sure, it was true. Yeehaw, thanks to whatever schmuck that's in WWE's creative that's deciding to leak information to websites and get a cheap little payday for it. Whatever the case may be, I don't really care. But the fact is that, assuming that it's right, I think we can all agree, as we sort of all had the notion of to begin with, that yes, Vince is out of touch. Is he helping? The idea is to get Roman to the next level, okay? Is it helping? Thus far, you'd have to say no. It's a funny thing to me how before the injury in 2014, that Roman didn't look bad. I mean, he looked pretty good. There was a few naysayers here and there because sort of from day one, the idea that a lot of fans had was that Dean was a workhorse, Seth was the daredevil, Roman was pretty. And you know what I mean? And you get that stuff. You sort of had that in the old days of the Horsemen. Lex was big and pretty and muscle bound, and the other guys were the sort of the bread and butter of the group. So, I mean, you've heard this kind of talk before, the same with Batista and Evolution, But to me, Roman's very athletic. He's got the heart to be in there. He's got the desire to be in there. Whether or not he's going to be, as big as John or as big as Sean, I mean, who knows? A lot of people would say no to that. I say that with the WWE promotional machine behind you and all that money behind you, there's probably nothing you can't do unless you just are not capable of it. I think, in my opinion, that Roman is capable of big things. But again, this was all before he went out. And I guess it's not fair. I guess it's not very cool for us to pass judgment on the guy just because he got hurt. But something has changed since he came back. And I have a hard time believing it's not firmly connected to Dean Ambrose, that Dean did not get people amped up, that Dean did not want fans wanting more. He didn't set the table and raise the bar. He did. You cannot take away from what Dean accomplished in Roman's absence. You just can't do it. I mean, that's not fair to him at all. Do you know what I mean? It's not. I mean, Dean is very good in the ring. Dean's character and the connections, or at least the comparisons, keep getting thrown out to Roddy Piper, to Brian Pillman, and this, that, and the other. I think, to me, that Dean encapsulates the best of all those guys. That he's got a little bit of Arn Anderson. He's got a little bit of Brian Pillman. He's got a little bit of Jake the Snake Roberts. He's got a little bit of Brian Pillman. He's got a lot of Roddy Piper happening. The difference, though, between Dean and Roddy is that Roddy, that was him. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't as much of a character. It was really him. Roddy's kind of off his nut a little bit. Very unpredictable. Some ego, but a lot of daring. No fear whatsoever. Wanted to be the best. Wouldn't back down from anyone. Is that Dean? I think that's Dean in a certain respect. I don't know if it's Dean 100% behind the scenes. That's the thing, is that when you become a character, the best characters are basically you with the volume turned up. So if this is really who Dean is, then so be it. I don't know that we've seen Dean enough behind the scenes or outside of the ring to really know. We've seen him from before, but that's before. Okay, that's back to independent circuit. All right, that's not necessarily the same guy you're seeing right now. Some would argue that it is, that it's the character he portrayed before. But you got to remember, folks, when you're in WWE, you don't just come in, okay, here I am, I'm myself, I do what I want. Very few guys can do that. I mean, you have to have a pedigree. You have to have a history of succeeding. You have to have something to fall back on. CM Punk had it, but you know how long it took them to let him do what he wanted to do? I mean, think about how long it took. So yes, Dean has a history. Yes, Dean is very good. But at the same time, Dean, and what I believe is happening, Dean is being handed something to say, like a lot of the other guys probably are, okay? And he takes it and works with the outline or whatever it is that he has to get over, get the match over, get the promo over, whatever he has to do. That's not really Roddy. You know what I mean? Roddy, again, just sort of marches to his own beat, that kind of thing. But I see the comparisons there, okay? So again, you can't discount what Dean did in the short term in Roman's absence. WWE had a hole that was supposed to be filled with Roman. Roman, he's out. So Dean slides in. Great opportunity for him. He made the best of it. Is it his fault he's losing the war with Bray Wyatt? No, that's WWE supposedly prepping Bray to face Undertaker at 2015 WrestleMania 31. And whether or not that's going to happen, who knows? But Bray's looking really good. Dean looks good, but Dean keeps losing. I mean, Dean can't buy a win right now. It's kind of a big deal for him. But, you know, he's still there. He's still hammering away, still doing what he can do, still trying to make waves, okay? So here we are. Again, we're talking about Roman coming back. The fact that he doesn't look quite like the Roman he did before. And it's not really that he looks any different in the ring. He looks the same. I don't think he's lost a step. You know what I mean? His first couple of matches when he came back, I think you're kind of sitting there with your fingers crossed and sort of waiting to see if he's going to be all right. Because, you know, whether you love or hate a guy, you don't want to see a guy come back from injury and get hurt again. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see that. If you're the kind of person who wants to see that, you probably shouldn't be watching pro wrestling because you're probably a bad person. Okay? I don't want to surround myself with bad karma and a bad aura. I like good people to be around me. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're going to be like, you're going to be a jerk, just get on out. That's my soapbox for the day. Was that impressive? I'm a good guy, right? Well, I try to be. I'm a babyface, man. What can you say? I only work heel when I have to. So, I don't know where that came from. But, you know, again, everyone would keep their fingers crossed it was okay. Now that you see that physically Roman's okay, the issue becomes, is he okay in the ring? Those of us who were okay with his work think he's fine. For the rest of the folks out there who hate him and can't stand him and say, you know, oh, he can't work, he's too this, he's too that, he's deficient in the ring. Let me just say this. I don't often agree with the naysayers, but I'm starting to see what some of the talk is about, okay? And it's not really his moveset per se. I've heard the 5 Moves of Doom thing being brought up with Roman like it is with John ad nauseum. I'm not saying that that's it, that I even agree with that. But I am beginning to see that Roman is a little bit deficient in the ring, that there's moments where I just want to see more. You know what I mean? I'm not counting the moves. But, okay, how about this? Maybe not that I want to see like a plethora. I don't want to see Dean Malenko. Well, it'd be great to see Dean Malenko's moves, but I don't expect to see Dean Malenko repertoire out of Roman Reigns. But I would like there to be a little bit more energy, a little bit more gusto, a little bit more heart, a little bit more making me want to jump up out of my seat. You know what I mean? Roddy had that, where Roddy could his technology, not his technology, but his well, yeah, sure, his technical ability. Why not? But the psychology that he used in the ring, the way he could make you care about him, that look he would get on his face, you know what I mean? That those expressions he had, his face was just perfect. He was just built for the business at getting over. You know, you could see the match on his face when he cut a promo, the emotion, that look he would get. Man, you could feel that. Very few guys have that and are successful with it. And Roddy was one of them. I don't get that from Roman. Okay, now is Roman supposed to be that good? Is he supposed to be Hall of Fame, legendary, worthy of, to be on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling? I don't recall anyone saying that. I just recall there being a gigantic need to fill a huge gaping hole that will be left on the day that Cena leaves. And trust me, folks, it's going to happen. For everyone out there that thinks Cena's time in the ring is not going to start winding down and that the winding down process is going to be within the next 2 years, folks, seriously, go back and rethink your position, because Cena's been on top for over 10 years. Does he look good? Yes. Physically, does he look the part? Yes. Is he great in the ring? No, not in my estimation, but he's good enough to get by. And his personality, his force of character, his heart, his willingness to be there have all carried him through. But folks, the human body begins to erode. Very few times in any sport, I don't care what you're talking about, does a guy get better 10 years in. I mean, he's smarter. He's better in terms of taking better care of himself and knowing when to be full throttle, when to pull back at the right time, when to pass a ball or when to take a hit or maybe not to take a hit. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. But very few times, in my estimation, does a guy get incredibly better, incredibly stronger, as if he's a whole new person. I mean, I don't know that I see that too often. Does it happen? Yes, of course it does. But folks, eventually Cena's time, and I still think, again, it's going to be within the next 2 years, it's going to begin winding down. They're going to begin pulling him back little by little by little. Here's the key. They can't do that until they've replaced him. And that doesn't mean replacing him full throttle. That doesn't mean replacing him 100%. That means replacing him little by little by little, okay? And the only way you do that is to have talent ready. You have to have guys ready to start filling them into those spots that are going to be left by Cena. And trust me, folks, there are going to be gigantic holes on that roster because Cena fills a lot of gaps. You know what I'm saying? And to pull him back means you have to be ready. Do they have a lot of talent? Sure. Do they have a lot of talent at NXT in Florida? Absolutely, man. Sami Zayn, Owens, Neville, Tommy, they've got guys that can work lights out. Could you put them on Raw today and have them make an impact? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, know why? Because the corporate machine, the promotional machine of WWE is not behind them on the main event level. They're not. They're attempting to get behind Roman. Okay? And it's working to a certain extent, but Roman is bogged down in a go-nowhere feud against Big Show. Roman's going to pick Big Show up and body slam him. He'll have to. He's going to have to do something big to get people to care about this, because every time they touch, it's toxic. And here's the thing. It's no disrespect intended to Show. I like Show quite a bit. I do. I always have. When people hate on the guy, I've been one of the guys that supported him. Do I think it's ridiculous he turns face and heel every year? Yeah. Yeah, I really do. It's kind of nonsense. There's no point in it, and it's destroyed his character. That'd be creative. It's their fault Big Show is no bigger than what he is, because in my opinion, Show's done everything asked of him. He's done everything possible to get over, and I think that when it's all said and done, when you look at the most athletic big man in the history of the business, but especially in that company, Big Show's going to be in the top two. I think it'll be Undertaker and Big Show. And Kane may be in the number 3 spot, okay? So, again, you want to talk about guys that are making that impact on the main event level. Guys that are ready to go right now. Bam, today. Bam, today. Who have they got? They had selections when Bryan was healthy. There's your guy. When Punk was there, there's your guy. Chris Jericho, there's your guy. Edge, if you want to go a little bit farther back, there's your guy. Veterans, guys that have been at the top, that are pulled back just a little bit, but if they get the call from creative and say, look, you're going to get the belt tomorrow, bam, let's go, we're good, we can do it. They don't have that now. Edge is gone, Jericho's gone, Punk's gone. Bryan just come back from injury. Talk about crossing your fingers. When Bryan mixed it up with Kane, oh man, it was rough. On the same Raw we're talking about where Roman decided to, tell Grimm's fairy tale to Big Show. Daniel touched Kane, and first time Daniel's been physically active since he went out with injury. And brother, it was rough. Not only was it rough to watch because you're crossing your fingers hoping that he's okay and doesn't hurt himself, but it's rough to watch because it looked like he didn't even know how to grab Kane. He looked nervous, and they looked like they rushed the spot. But kudos to Daniel, man. Talk about a guy with heart for the business. That's what you need. Okay, a guy that lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, drinks the business, like Triple H, like Shawn Michaels, like Ric Flair, like Ole Anderson used to, like Harley Race. Pro wrestling first, pro wrestling second, pro wrestling last. That's it. Okay, that's Daniel. Daniel's throwback. CM Punk, throwback. I don't know if I see Roman being a throwback. Okay, I think Roman has a great look. I think he knows he has a great look. I think he's had everybody and their mother telling him he has a great look. I think he's got the company telling him. He's got Vince telling him. He's got creative telling him. He's got dirt sheets telling him. He's got writers like me telling him. And after a while, maybe you begin to believe your own hype. That happening maybe. And now, does that make Roman a jerk? Absolutely not. Does it make Roman a piece of crap that shouldn't be given time of day? Absolutely not. Does that mean you should hate him? Absolutely not. It's not his fault. He's only human. Let's say that he is buying into what's being told about him. Well, newsflash for you, if it gets too far out of control, they can pull him back in. Want to know why? Because he's not there yet. He's still a work in progress. WrestleMania 31 card's not been set in stone. Do you want to know why? Because Vince McMahon waits to the 0 hour every year. Every year it's the same thing, man. You think you got the card figured out? You don't know anything. Unless you're talking about John versus Rock, which they set for a year in advance, and which still does nothing for me either match. Just me talking. I didn't really get anything out of either match. Not to hate on anyone, but I couldn't wait to see other matches. You know what I mean? That's just me talking. But very few times has the main event trio of main event matches at WrestleMania been set until the very last possible second. That's how Vince does it. That's how WWE Creative does it. And let's face it, it's Vince's company. Creative will follow him. Okay? Whatever Vince says he wants, they're going to have it. So they're going to do it. That's what we're talking about here. So it's not too late to pull Roman back a little bit. So if and I'm just throwing it out there, it's speculation. Don't be hating, okay? If Roman's okay mentally, fine. But let's say he's not. It's not too late to pull him back, get in his ear a little bit and say, dude, you need to pull back. You know what I mean? You need to get back down to earth. This is not what we wanted for you. You need to pull back a little bit. You know what I mean? Your attitude's starting to get the best of you. I mean, because you hear that story over the years. You've heard a lot with Orton. Okay, because Orton has always been classified as being, first-class jerk. And, I'm not going to call a guy names because I don't know him personally. Do all the signs point to Orton being a first-class jerk? Yeah, they do. Because you hear more bad than good. And I'm going to tell you something right now. For anyone out there that wants to say, well, that's not fair to Randy. Folks, where there's smoke, there's fire. It doesn't mean they're right. And I'm not going to go lend credence to dirt sheets that I feel are just, printing regurgitated garbage. I'm not trying to say that, okay? Don't misunderstand me here. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And it doesn't mean they're all right. Doesn't mean that Randy is a complete waste of space on the planet. But there's got to be something there to warrant him being vilified. You don't hear this stuff about Sami Zayn. You don't hear this stuff about other guys in that company. You don't hear this stuff about John all that much. You've heard some negative press about John, but I don't know that you've heard to the extent that you've ever heard about Randy. You heard it about Punk, sure, but again, folks, you're talking about guys who are mentally ready. You're talking about guys who are mentally ready to be in that spot. Okay? And I don't know who they had that's ready to be in that spot. Boy, they sure want Roman to be ready, don't they? They sure want Roman to be ready. Because let me ask you this. For all you Roman Reigns haters out there, take Roman out right now. All right? Forget him. Take him out of the equation. Who they got? I'm waiting. Hit me. Who they got? Don't say Dean Ambrose to me. He's not ready. You want to know why? Because they're screwing him. Okay, they're not screwing him. Well, maybe they are. They're not doing him any favors. Dean continues to look silly. And I've defended him even in the worst of promos. Not because of anything he's done wrong, but because of the situations that he finds himself in. The whole thing with the shrink on Monday Night Raw, it was pretty bad. It could have been great. If it had been Dr. Shelby, it would have been amazing. But they picked some other actor, and it didn't work too well, and it didn't feel real, and it didn't feel natural, and I don't know. I don't think it helped Dean in the slides. I think Dean could have knocked it out of the park. I think it could have looked good, but at the end of the day, I think it just looked like a stretch to try to feature Dean in a spot that they thought was going to work. But here's the thing, man. As I said before, when you try to choke the talent with too much pre-written material, if a guy is as good as Dean is, don't choke him. Let him be him. Let him be himself. Let him go out there and just give him the ability to say what he wants to say. You know what I'm saying? Give him some general points, but let him get there on his own. You pair him up with a guy that he has no chemistry with, whether it's an actor or a pro wrestler or whoever it is, it's not going to work too well. And no one believed a second of it. People wanted to believe it because they love Dean, but it's not going to work. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, is Dean ready? No, he's not. Sorry to kill it for you. He's not, okay? Put Dean tomorrow in the ring with Brock Lesnar. I'm telling you right now, put the belt on him. In a month, he's dead. He's dead. Would he make the best of it? You had better believe it, brother. He'd wear that belt with pride. He'd take it seriously. He would give 150% every time he's out there, and you want to go to bat with him. You want to go to war with him. It won't be enough. It won't be enough because the foundation's not been poured for him. He's still a work in progress, and to rush him to the top before he's ready, I don't care how many years he's got behind him. Do you want to screw him? Seriously, do you want to hurt him? Then give him the belt today. He's not ready for it. He has to be ready. We're talking about long term. If you want Dean to be a flash in the pan, give him the championship tomorrow. Fine. If you want him to be long term successful, you can't do that. I mean, they gave Swagger the belt. Did anyone care about? How long did it take fans to care about him again? Is Dean better than Jack? Yes, of course he is. But I'm just trying to make a point here, folks. You don't put the cart ahead of the horse. Dean's a stud, as Jim Ross would say. He can pull the cart. And he can, and I think he will eventually, but no, he can't right now. So who you got left? Seth Rollins. Love me some Seth Rollins. I've been a Rollins fan for a while, but I'm a fan of Rollins' band right now, baby, because the music he's turning out is pretty friggin' awesome. And his greatest hit so far, folks, is the January 12th edition of Monday Night Raw, the same episode in which Roman decided to, sort of be the fairy tale guy. Seth stared down Brock Lesnar and didn't blink. How you like that one? How you like that? Didn't flinch. Seth's character, who's been portrayed as a low-life thug that sold out his best friends and is using someone else's corporate money to get to the top, he's just sort of coasting there, stood and stared in the eyes of the devil himself, and he did not blink. That's big-time stuff. That's big-time stuff. I just published a piece for the Camel Clutch blog about it. Please go check it out. Support yours truly. Let's get this thing done, and get me some hits, folks. I'm trying to make a living here, crying out loud. I'm a starving artist. What are you gonna do? But again, Seth looked fantastic. Is Seth ready right now? Is Seth Rollins ready right now? No, he's not. Okay. He's more ready than Dean in terms of how the company has prepared him in front of the fans. But imagine if Dean were in Seth's spot and had been prepped the amount that Seth has been prepped for success, future of the company, face of WWE, briefcase, Triple H, the help from Triple H, authority, bam, 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 all the way down the line. Dean would be ready right now. But he's not. In my estimation, you took the stronger of the two and put him on his own and turned him face because Dean can handle what's thrown at him. You take sort of the weaker of the two because Seth didn't really get over in the Shield as much as Dean did, and you put him with guys that can help get him to the next level. So the hopes are that when he gets there, he can handle it. You see what I'm saying? And maybe he can make it and he'll be fine. That's the way I see it. So is Seth Rollins ready right now? In my opinion, he's more ready than Dean. I don't know that he is at this moment. I think that if he got the belt today, unlike Dean, who I think would eventually stumble and fall, not because of anything he did, but because of WWE itself, I think that Seth would manage to make it work a little bit better. But again, is he ready right now? Don't hurt the guy unless you just have no other option. Allow him to continue to grow as well. Okay, keep having moments where he stared down Brock Lesnar. Doesn't mean he has to turn face. I'm not saying that, but his character showed true mettle when he faced down Brock Lesnar and he did not blink. That was big time stuff, man. You know what I mean? That was big time stuff. That was a big deal for him. That was something very important that had to happen for folks to begin to see him in a different way, and I think they do right now. But is Seth ready today if John disappeared? If Roman was out of the equation, is Seth ready? Okay, forget the John disappearing part. That's a big gaping crater that would take a long time to fill. Let's say that Roman wasn't in the equation, as we said with Dean. Is Seth ready? Only you can answer that. In my opinion, I don't think so. Okay, again, he's got a better shot than Dean, but again, why rush? So after Seth and Dean, who you got? Ryback. I almost couldn't get that name out. Did you catch that? My voice cracked. Let's try that again. Ryback. You want to know how Here's why I've got a hard time getting that word out, okay? Because from the moment that Skip Sheffield became Ryback, WWE has dropped the ball with him. Can we all agree on that? You bring this guy in, he's a monster, okay? He's a monster. Dude looks like he could pick up a bus, all right? He's ripped. He looks amazing. Very marketable look. Looks like a comic book supervillain come to life. I mean, he's physically he looks like it. He can't talk. He can't, just forget that. He can barely put two words together. But he's got the look, okay? He's surprisingly athletic. For anyone out there that says Ryback can't move, I think they're just being a little too harsh. I think he's fairly quick on his feet. Strong as an ox, okay? I think he had all the positives in place. Here's the issue, was that from the moment they brought him on board, it was squash matches, okay? And no matter what anyone says, no matter all the Goldberg stuff that was thrown at Ryback and all that, let's say that was not a concern. Let's say that nowhere among WWE Creative or Vince or Stephanie or Triple H was there ever talk of, we need to create our own Goldberg. Let's say that never happened, okay? You mean to tell me that no one behind the scenes, they've got guys that used to work in WCW, no one behind the scenes, no one in creative that watched wrestling for longer than 10 minutes, not even Triple H, not even Stephanie herself, not even Vince, who knows all, sees all, is all, ever looked at the situation and said, guys, I think we might be doing Goldberg just a little bit. Of course they knew. Of course they knew. But they were hoping that, one, you would either not care, or two, that Ryback would be strong enough to be able to overcome all the Goldberg comparisons. Well, when you give a guy the exact same shtick with a catchphrase and don't have him say much, and he's invincible and he can't be beaten, and he kind of physically looks like Goldberg, guess what? You're setting him up to fail. Okay? You have set him up to fail, guys. I mean, seriously right now, okay? So Ryback comes out last Raw of 2014, the same Raw in which Daniel Bryan comes back and announces his intent to participate in the Royal Rumble, which is awesome. Kudos to Bryan. Glad to have him back. We'll get to Bryan in just a moment, actually. And Ryback, for the first time ever, actually becomes human in front of the crowd. He tells his story. He talks about coming back and facing adversity, coming back from injury, the people that try to keep him down. He flubbed his way through the interview, could barely get his words out because that's who he is. And you know what? Hate on him if you want to. It's not really his fault. Should he be getting better? Absolutely. That much is his fault. The point is to improve. His promos need to be as short as possible, as short and sweet as you possibly can make them, kind of like Roman's, which we'll get back to, but you have to keep it short and sweet, okay? Because, Ryback is not CM Punk. He's not Paul Heyman. He should talk for, that amount of time, bam, move on to the next guy. That's how quick it should be, man, because he can't do the big, long diatribes every time he's on TV. But they did have him go through this, and guess what? It got him over. For the small amount of time it got him over, it did get him over. I mean, it was pretty good. The crowd reacted. It worked in every regard. I mean, he was getting cheered. How often does that happen for Ryback? I mean, never is the answer. Like never, ever, ever? Okay. He gets a pop when he winds up for the meat hook, and the people are chanting "Feed me more," which they don't do enough of for his sake, because, he can't get over enough to save his life. And so, for the first time, fans were actually clapping. They were giving their seal of approval. There's nothing like a feel-good story. The boyhood dream has come true. You know, people love that stuff. WWE fans love to hear a guy in the ring talk about how much they love WWE. Unless it's John, then they don't buy it. But anyone else, they're good with it. So Ryback gets over in this little tiny moment, this little sliver of time. And it's good for the commentating team. They can carry that every time he gets in the ring. They can talk about his plight, him facing adversity. And then WWE goes and fires him in a storyline. So he's off TV. So there goes his opportunity to get over anymore. The whole point that I'm throwing to you right now is, if you don't believe in Roman, and we kind of maybe are of the opinion that Seth and Dean need a little bit more time, what about Ryback? What about Ryback? Is he a potential top guy? Is he the top guy? Is it him? Is there anything in you, in any of you guys out there, that would even entertain the possibility of Ryback becoming the top guy? Or do you think it's too far gone? You think that it's beyond repair at this point? WWE's done a lot to drop the ball with this guy. And in the process of screwing the pooch, they may have just ruined his future, because I don't know who among us would believe it. Imagine, close your eyes. All of you close your eyes, unless you're driving, in which case you might want to keep them open. If not, just close your eyes and imagine Ryback hoisting the WWE World Heavyweight Championship above his head. How's that looking to you? Are you buying that? Are you feeling that at all? Or are you just getting nauseous? And whose fault is it if you're getting nauseous? Is it Ryback's fault? Dude has heart. He wants to be there, obviously. CM Punk had a few choice words for him when he did the podcast, but, nevertheless, that's Punk's thoughts and views, and who are we to say he's right or wrong? He was in the business with the guy, so, whatever, but just go from what you know, from what you feel in your gut. Is Ryback the top guy, the next top guy? While you're thinking about that and chewing on it, let's go back to Daniel. Daniel comes back from possible career-ending surgery. This could have been it for him. I was one of the guys that was holding out hope to the very end, until the point I was actually telling people I knew. They would say, Tom, what about Daniel? And I'd say, I think he's done. Because there had been no signs of life. There had been nothing. And I thought that the moment was going to come when Daniel would come live and say, this is it, folks, I'm done. I didn't think it was going to be that raw. There'd been too many clues dropped that it could possibly be that. I think if and when the time were to happen, and I hope it doesn't, but I think if that were to have been in, or whatever it is, that WWE would not be as forthcoming about it. I think they would probably leave it up to Daniel to tell you himself. Because let's face it, how do I say this? WWE did a lot for Daniel when he got rolling. They put the right things in front of him, opened the right doors. But how many people in that company truly saw Daniel get into the championship? How many people truly saw him get to the promised land? How many of you really saw it? If you say you did, you're lying, okay? Unless you're the old Ring of Honor guys and you follow the business for a while and you knew Daniel back when he was Danielson and the American Dragon and all that stuff with Punk and Joe and all that. I mean, if you knew him then, fine. If you thought he was capable of it, then fine. But at the same time, if you really believe that WWE was going to go in that direction, I still say the nay. I disagree with that assessment because, brother, I didn't believe it for a second. You want to know why? I thought physically he could do it, but I thought he's not what they're looking for, man. He's not it. He'll be a good hand who hopefully will become a really good hand, a very strong mid-card presence, and that's probably going to be the extent of his run, and he'll spend 5-6 years in the company, and then he'll be on his way back to the independents or something and take a nice little chunk of change with him, and then people will get to say, hey, I got to see the Ring of Honor guy in WWE. I'm set. That's not what happened. Daniel exploded, okay? And people can talk about the yes chant. They can talk about all that. It all started with anger management and Kane. He was over a little bit before then with AJ. Nowhere near what happened when Kane and anger management took place, and that stuff just went nuclear. Daniel went nuclear, red hot, man. You know what I'm saying? So, Daniel Bryan, back from injury, wish him the best. Glad to see him back. Great hand in the ring, awesome worker. Very entertained by his matches. I was one of the guys cheering for him, and I mean physically, literally applauding when he won the championship belt. That belt is as important as the guy that holds it, which is why the belt right now means nothing because it hasn't been defended in 4 months, okay? But the belt is only as important as the guy holding it, all right? And Daniel is pretty good. Daniel's very good, okay? So Daniel's back from injury. Is he going to be elevated back to the level of top guy once again? Is that in the cards for him? Is WWE going to go in that route? He talked about on a recent Monday Night Raw that he's going to start this whole thing over again. That, you know what that means? Daniel versus the Authority Part 2. Ay. You want to see that? Do you want to see that? Because I'm betting a lot of you don't, okay? So let's say that Daniel gets back in the saddle, man, and he's looking good and everything's going his way and he's getting the crowd back and they're feeling it and WWE's feeling it and everybody's feeling it and everything's going great. And they elevate him back up to the top. What does that do to your boy Roman? I'm asking. I'm not telling. I'm asking. I mean, the whole point of this program, from my perspective, is to inform, educate, enlighten, and entertain. That's what I'm here for. So I'm posing the question to you. Is Daniel Bryan a top guy again? And if he is a top guy, will he become the top guy? Can you see a moment in time when John Cena he's not gone. John's going to be there for a while. Don't you fret about that. John's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Okay? So here's the thing. Let's say that John has shuffled to the side quite a bit. Shuffled to the side. Maybe not a lot, but let's say. Is Daniel's the one out front? Can you picture that? Is that working for you? Okay, now, and before you say no, I want you to think about the ramifications of a no to this question. Think about it, folks. Because if you say no to the question, you are essentially telling me, okay, that not only do you not see Roman as the next top guy, you don't think Seth is ready and Dean is ready, you don't see Ryback as the next top guy, and guess what? Now you don't see Daniel Bryan as the next top guy either. So what's the answer? What's the answer for you folks? Clone John Cena? Huh? Dip him in the Lazarus pit and add another 10 years back onto his life? Is that the plan? Because eventually this company is going to have to move forward. And any John Cena fans out there that I may have ruffled your feathers somewhere along the way, and well, I've been known to do that a time or two, you're going to have to face facts. If you were a Hulk Hogan fan back in the 80s, you were eventually going to have to start facing facts. Hogan's getting older. He's slowing down. Eventually, he'll be out of touch. A lot of fans believe that Cena's been out of touch for 10 years. Well, at least for 5 of the 10, okay? And it's only getting worse. If it gets to the point where people look at John as a whole, I'm not even saying the majority of the crowd, but as a whole, if people looking at John saying, you know what, I think I've heard just about enough. I don't want to hear any more of this. This is tiring. What else you got? Because, folks, I'm telling you right now, when it gets to that point, and people are sitting back going, what else you got? They better be ready, okay? They better have the new plan A. Right now, it can be a plan B, that's fine. But the new plan A has to be into effect. They got to be ready to move to the next phase of program, because if not, and you mark my words here, ladies and gentlemen, if that company's not ready, you're going to see a dip, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Monday Night Wars. Everyone remember that time? When Hogan was on the way out and they had Brett and Shawn and were doing their best to stay up, but they couldn't quite keep their heads above water because no matter how good Brett was, no matter how good Shawn was, people were used to the way they were doing business, which was one guy and a supporting cast around him, okay? One guy at top, supporting cast around him. Not a whole bunch of really good guys, a bunch of main event talents that could carry the company in one main event match after another. No. One really good guy, one top guy, and a lot of supporting cast, okay? They had to get used to the idea. You got to educate your fans. Sometimes you got to educate your fans, okay? And get them accustomed to what you want them to see, all right? WWE came at it from another perspective. They said, okay, we can't do the entertainment factor that Hogan had and the money that he made for us. Let's throw the talent in the ring. Okay, they got smaller with Brett and Shawn. The steroid scandals were going on, all that stuff. So they got smaller. So the athleticism of Brett and Shawn came into play. And other guys started to come on board. And as that momentum began to build, it was an extremely slow build because people were used to the way WWE were doing business. Suddenly they weren't offering that anymore. They were changing it up, okay? It takes time to get your audience back when you make the change that way. The only time it doesn't is if you seamlessly go from point A to point B. Okay, Cena's point A, point B is the next guy. Because right now you got one top guy and a whole big supporting cast. Are there talented guys in that company? You better believe it. Are there guys that bring you to your feet and you want to see them elevated higher than what they are? Absolutely. Is it happening? Not really. Because John is still the top dog. Still. And it's not changing anytime soon. Or is it? I still maintain that we're in the very beginning stages of seeing this company begin to move into the future. NXT is full of talent, man. They are full of talent, of guys that could come and make an impact today if WWE wanted to do that, but they're not. Why? Because they want to keep them in Florida, keep them working, and get used to the way WWE does business, and trying to, get them in front of the crowds and get their feet underneath of them and establish them with the WWE audience, and then bring them up to the main roster. And doesn't that work well, Ascension? Huh? Connor and Victor, Road Warrior ripoffs, Demolition ripoffs. They're making fun of the Powers of Pain. In one promo, they ripped on 3 tag teams. 2 of the tag teams they can't face. One of the tag teams is not even under contract with WWE. So you tell me what good it did. I have no idea either. So, sorry, got sidetracked. But the talent is there. The talent is there. WWE has to be ready. Who are they going to be ready with? Folks, you don't want to hear this. If you're anti-Roman Reigns, do your best to stay with me here. It will come back to Roman. Is he rough around the edges? Absolutely. Can he talk? No. If the stories are true that Vince is telling him what to say, it needs to stop. If WWE Creative is telling him what to say, it needs to stop. Roman doesn't need his hand held on promos, unlike what anyone out there may think about it. The best moments that Roman has had on the mic, and he had them recently, and he doesn't get enough credit for it, was when he looked at Big Show and said, Big Show, if you get in this ring, I'm going to hit you in the mouth. That's the absolute best that he's ever sounded. You want to know why? The KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And as long as they do that with Roman, he'll be fine. But you have Roman come out and attempt to cut a 20-minute promo like Ryback did, brother, that's not going to happen, okay? Triple H, for as nauseating long promos as he can cut, and sometimes make you want to go slit your wrist because you're sitting there going, can we move on? I have the rest of my life to get to, Hunter. Thanks. As crazy as that can be sometimes, Hunter can talk. Okay? Roman can't. Now, whose fault is that? Is it Roman's fault? Should he be getting better? Yeah, he probably should. Is he going to be limited on his mic work? More than likely, yes. So what's the answer to that? Keep it simple, stupid. Shorten it up. Goldberg shouldn't have been talking very long. WWE was smart. They didn't have him talk for a long time. Shorten it up, shorten it up, okay? Keep it simple, stupid. If it's not working, don't have him talk that much, okay? And this thing that Roman does behind the scenes where he's winking at the girls and baby girl and all that, brother, stop. Stop. The fangirls online may love it. No one else loves it. You're going to make enemies really, really quick. He's already made enemies in a lot of regards, okay? Because his pop is starting to wane. Fans, again, I'm telling you right now, after his injury, something changed. The crowd has, I don't know if they've turned on full, but they are on their way, and it's getting more and more intense as every week goes by. I think you're starting to feel it more on live television on Raw. SmackDown, they can edit it as much as they can, get the crowd noise back up. But I don't know how many people are feeling it anymore. I think Roman needs to do something big. You want to talk about the authorities back in power. There's rumors of Sting facing Triple H at Mania, and that's all well and good. But you know what I think? I think Roman needs something big to do. Why not have Roman in the authority this time? Not Dolph, not Sting, Roman. Think about that for a second. Have Roman be the guy. Don't even have Cena do it. Have Roman be the guy. Roman needs something big, guys. Don't you think? Don't you think he needs something big to do? I mean, seriously, don't you think Roman needs a springboard to get him to that next level? It's not enough to say, I used to be with the Shield, I'm going to hit you in the mouth. It's not enough. He needs more. He needs something a lot more than what he's being given right now, okay? And he's being given a lot. Roman doesn't lose many matches, in case you weren't paying attention. Roman doesn't lose many matches at all. Because, again, why? Why, folks? Because they're prepping him for the next level. They want to get him ready because they want you to believe that Roman Reigns is fully capable of getting it done in an extremely big way on the main event stage. They want Roman to be the next top guy. And I don't care who out there doesn't buy it or who doesn't believe it. That's what the company wants, okay? And they're going to try to make it happen. Here's the problem. They need you to help make it happen. Are you hearing me? They need you to help make it happen because if you don't buy it, it won't happen. This is not a situation where John is loved and hated at the same time. WWE likes that and they're keeping him out there because really he's the best they got in terms of making money. No. That's not it. When they elevated John, John was over. Go back and look at the promos when John was just United States champion. Okay? Dude, he was over. When he turned face, oh my God. You know what I mean? He was over to the moon, man. He was. I mean, no one wants to admit that now because everyone hates John. But go back and look at those promos, dude. He was over to the moon. He was. And that's not what we're talking about, where he was over, he gets there, and over the course of 10 years, people hate his guts and, want to pitch him off a roof. Whoever gets the nod next from Cena, whoever that torch gets passed to, has to be over. It has to be. You can't take the time to build the guy in the eyes of the fans. He has to be ready right then. You see what I'm saying? The fans have to be on board. The fans aren't on board. It's going to show. We can't take John Cena Part 2, people. Can you? I can't. And guess what? Neither can that company. In terms of making money, sure. But if you think for 1 second there's one person on creative, that there's one person in the McMahon family that doesn't want John to be full-blown babyface and have 100% crowd support with no one turning on him, you're fooling yourself. Because that's what that company wants. They smile and nod and say, hey, yeah, well, look, he still draws. He still sells merch. Joke's on you. We want him this way. No, they don't. No, they don't. That's a lie. That's the biggest lie a promoter will ever tell you. He wants his top babyface to be the top babyface, okay? Is it working for them? They claim it is. Are you buying it? Because more and more every day we're hearing about issues that company's having, how the storylines are stale, how nothing feels right sometimes. What's that come from? That comes from pigeonholing your top star who can only get so much crowd support. The guy that you shoved down everyone's throats for 10 years, people. And arguably 5 of those 10 years, no one's cared about him all that much, okay? Royal Rumble's coming up. $10 says John's going to win the belt from Brock. Why? Because John wins all the time. And because he's all you have, okay? And at this point today, if John Cena walked out right now today, right now, they got nobody. They don't have a soul. And anyone they were to put in John's spot would not be ready. Okay? Think about this. When Austin left, and as they say, took the proverbial ball and went back home to Texas. When he left because he refused to face Brock, which was the right move by Austin, in my opinion, to object to that, I defend him to this day. But when Austin left, there were several stars that were plugged up in his spot. Did the company lose money? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, they did. Because Austin was the number 1 top guy. But they had some stars ready to go. Who they got ready to go right now? Who's ready? You just shot down everyone I gave you, right? You shot them all down, correct? So who have you got left, man? Where are they going to go? They're going to go outside the company? They're not going to go outside the company. They're going to come from within. They're going to go to NXT or something, but they're not going to go outside the company. It's not going to happen. They're going to be outside the company, okay? WWE needs to have someone ready. You have any idea how long it takes to build a guy to get him ready? It's not something that happens overnight, man. Cena got red hot overnight, it seems like, and they threw him up there and made him top guy. Now, that seemed like a great idea in the short term. Long term, in my opinion, it's hindered that company's ability to promote because they put all the horses that they have to the card of John Cena. All the cards are on the table for Cena, no one else, okay? They staked their claim, they staked their company on him because they know he doesn't want to go anywhere else. He loves being there, okay? So everything they have, they put behind him. It's fine in short term. In the long term, it'll destroy you, okay? Because you have to be ready. Why WCW shut down? I don't have time for that. My time's up. That's a whole different podcast, brother. But one of the major reasons they did, in my estimation, the top reason they did, was because they were not ready for the future. Oh, they had guys that could have been built. They weren't ready. They didn't build them. No one was ready, okay? So when the top stars who were veterans, whose best years were behind them, slowed down, couldn't deliver anymore, the silly storylines became silly. They wanted guaranteed contracts, wanted to sit at home and get paid, not work very hard. They were on TV and pay-per-view and all that stuff. Then they had nothing else to go to. They had nothing else to go to at all. They had Goldberg, and they punked him out, okay? And there you have it, folks. That's it. That's it. They had no one else. Is that what we're looking at right now today? Is WWE ready? If John Cena left right now, are they ready? Are they seriously ready? The answer to that question is no. No. And no again. Okay? I love me some Seth. I think he's got a great shot. I love me some Dean. I think Dean could have a great shot. I like Roman. They don't have anybody ready. Now, if they had a whole bunch of people ready, then obviously they've not done enough for John. Yes? But, brother, they've had 10 years to keep John on top and to feed him and feed him and feed him. Feed me more, says John Cena. They gave him everything he had and then some, and that's fine. They've made their money with John. You got to start thinking ahead. It's the only way to stay alive. It's the only way to evolve and to keep going in the future is to think ahead, build ahead, move ahead. They have to start somewhere and with someone. And I think they believe that someone was Roman Reigns. And now I think they're beginning to get scared because they hear how you are reacting in the audience. They hear how you're reacting in the arenas. They hear the hate being thrown at Roman. They read the criticisms. And if anyone tells you no one WWE is looking at the websites, they're lying. Okay? They might not be checking them religiously every hour on the hour, but you better believe they know what's being said about these guys. They have to be, because as much as we're vilified in the pro wrestling media, we do have an impact. Okay? We do have a voice. We do have things that we talk about, and we're responsible for getting our voices heard. And I mean, they can rip on us all they want to, but we're not going to go away anytime soon, just like they're not. Okay? So there you have it. Okay? We do have an influence. They don't want to read stuff that hate being thrown at Roman. They want Roman to start off on a good foot. They don't want him to start off on John Cena's foot, right? Because that's putting him behind the 8 ball. They need Roman to be ready and be ready right now. Whoever they give the ball to, they need to be ready. They don't need him starting out behind, which is where Roman will be starting if WWE can't find a way to get the crowd on his side right now. I mean, it has to happen, folks. The crowd has to get behind Roman right now. There can be no doubt. They can have their favorites. They can like other guys. They can love Dean and Seth, and they can love anyone else that comes down the pipe. But they have to be behind Roman. There can be no question that Roman is the next guy. Now, how does that happen? Does Roman become a better wrestler every night? No, probably not going to happen. Does he become Paul Heyman on the mic every night? No, probably not going to happen. It's up to WWE to make him look good and to put him in the right spots and put him with the right people. Okay, the reason why Roman should face Brock at WrestleMania 31 is Brock can put him over. Okay, imagine Roman Reigns kicking out of the F5. Imagine Roman Reigns kicking out of 2 F5s, doing what Undertaker couldn't do, and that's beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Can you imagine what stratosphere that would elevate Roman Reigns to? Here's the key. Fans have to buy it. No matter who gets in that spot, you have to buy it. Cena was a long shot, in my opinion, when they put him in that spot as world champion against Bradshaw. In my opinion, that was a long shot. Okay, because he was hot, and they said, you know what, let's run with it. But hindsight being 2020, was he really ready? He was ready, I think, from a maturity standpoint. Sure, he became a locker room leader, absolutely. But in terms of what the fans wanted, was he ready? I think they went with the best thing they had in front of them, which was Cena. Who's the best thing they have in front of them right now? Who's the guy they have in front of them right now that's able to make that leap? I don't know if they have one, but if they do, it's going to be Roman. And if he's not ready, they're going to get him ready. They're going to manufacture that sensation, that feeling, that vibe, if it doesn't exist right now. Or at least they're going to try to. The bout of Roman Reigns continues. This song is far from over. Okay, we're barely into the first verse, honestly. And there's a lot more that needs to be sung. A lot more that needs to be said about this guy to see just how far he will go, to see how far the company is willing to take him into the future of WWE. Is Roman the next top guy? Well, like we said, the song's still being sung. The battle of Roman Reigns continues, folks, and we could come back and revisit this topic anytime we want to, because trust me, this is not going to go away anytime soon. It's not going to go away because fans don't like him. Cena never went anywhere because fans don't like him. The whole notion of Roman being elevated to the top is not going to go away anytime soon. Trust me on that one. We're going to be talking about this for a long, long time to come. That's it, folks. There you go. That's the program. And yes, this is the first one of 2015. Forgot to mention that. This was episode 12. 12 episodes in the can. What can I tell you? Wish it had been more. I'm doing all I can for you, folks. I'm a busy guy. I'm writing all the time. I'm doing what I can do. I promise you this, in 2015, you're going to get more, as much more as I can possibly do. Maybe some 30-minute episodes here and there, some real quick hit and runs, and we'll see what we can do here at the program. For all of you out there listening, thank you. I'm going to remind you where to find me at. You can catch me on Bleacher Report, on the esteemed Camel Clutch blog, and on whatculture.com. Hit me up on Twitter at TomClarkBR. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back, brother. Don't check me out on Facebook because I'm kind of boring there. All I do is just sort of promote. Give me an email at TomClarkBR@yahoo.com. Okay? Let's debate. I'm all about debate, about getting the discussion going. Not one guy doesn't know everything. I mean, I'm pretty awesome, but I'm not the authority on this, folks. I'm open to your feedback. Tell me what you think. Let's discuss it. Let's chew it up. let's get it out there and see what we think about it. Tell me what you think. Give me your thoughts. Let's get the conversation going. Thanks again for joining us, folks. Be sure to keep an eye, subscribe again, and keep watching that furry face with the headphones around his neck, because I'll be back hopefully in real short order. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks again for listening. Appreciate your time. We'll be back at you real soon with yet another edition of Tom Clark's Main Event.